everyone, it's Sharronda from Pay or Wait, and today I'm going to be doing the spoiler review to the Netflix series, The Umbrella Academy, okay? And so, I know I told you guys, hey, as soon as I get home from work, I'm going to go ahead and record this, but I ain't gonna lie, the devil was getting to me. He was like, Sharronda, you tired? You need to take a bomb little nap real quick so you can get up and live tweet the passage and not fall asleep halfway through the episode like you did last week. But I said not today, Satan, because I made a promise and I'm going to keep it. I'm trying to do right by you guys in 2019. So let's go ahead and kind of get into this. I'm kind of going to just talk about each of the different children / adults, and then kind of go into mixing the differences between the comic and what happened in the television series. Hopefully that works for you guys. If it doesn't work for you guys, sorry, but that's how we're going to do it. So essentially this opens up where we see that their father, Sir Reginald Hargreaves, he has passed away. And so all these people all of the kids are basically finding out that their father has passed, and they all kind of come together to tell him goodbye or F you, because they had a real bad dysfunctional relationship with their father, as we find out from season 1. So first I want to start with Space Boy, which is, you know, what they call him in the comics, but Luther, who's played by Tom Hopper, who is in Game of Thrones. Y'all, also I think he was on Black Sails as well. So the differences between his character, he has this weird, like, it's not really incest, but it's kind of incest because they're brother and sister, between this little love thing that he had going on with his sister Allison, number 3. And so in the TV series, they say that he was in space for 4 years. His father randomly sent him there, but actually in the comics, he was actually in space for like 20 years. Like, he came back when he heard what happened to his dad. And in the comics, he actually has a full ape body, and he like wears the little spacesuit and stuff. But in the TV series, you see that it's just like up top. And yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's not a huge like plot difference, but yeah, like there's a difference between 4 years and 20 years being, you know, in space. And so the whole creepy thing with his sister, they end up kissing and all that stuff. And I love how they kind of show throughout the course of the television series, season 1, how everyone kind of saw it, but no one necessarily acknowledged it, because at the end of the day, I think they know, hey, we're siblings, but not by blood. So you're going to do what you're going to do. But I actually didn't mind the connection that they had between him and Allison, played by Emmy Rover Lampman, who is, I mean, not as well, I didn't really know any of the other projects that she had played in before this, but I liked her take on Allison. And so I loved, minus, actually, I gotta talk about this right now. That dance sequence, even though I was like bopping to the music, I really didn't care for the dance sequence, maybe because like they just felt stiff. And it was just like, where did this come from? We didn't necessarily need this. You could have just leaned in, kissed him, and that would have been totally fine to satisfy everybody else. So yeah, I don't know. How did you guys feel about the little dance sequence that happened between them? Let me know in the comment section like what you thought about it, but I was not necessarily a fan of it. But can we talk about Diego? Okay, so Diego is basically number 2, and so he has the little things with the knives, and he's just as dysfunctional in the comics as he is in, you know, the television series. However, the whole relationship between him and the detective, I didn't see that happen in the comics, and it could be in volume 2 because I haven't read Dallas yet, but I just knew he was working with like a chimpanzee detective. So if you read Dallas, let me know in the comment section below if that differs. But yeah, I just thought that was weird. But one of the issues, as I was saying before, is I wanted them to kind of explore what their relationship looked like before, because it was kind of like we could feel all this love that he had for her, but we didn't get to necessarily see that. It was just people commenting like, yeah, y'all used to smash, but Diego, it looked like you was like in love with her. So I wanted to see more of that. But we had to really talk about Vanya. And so Vanya is played by Ellen Page, and I couldn't really talk about her character in the non-spoiler review because it would have gave too much of the plot away. So what I do want to say is there's kind of this secret organization in the comic book, and like when all of this is happening, kind of how all of them come back together is the death of their father in the comics, but there's this villain that they fought before when they were younger, and then he basically staged his attack to happen in the future to happen. So if all of them came back together in the same place, like basically everything would just be destroyed. And so they're trying to fight this like little threat that's happening, and that's how they know that everybody's back in town. And so Vanya actually goes to see her siblings as they're kind of fighting all these little robots or whatnot. And the like how the siblings, like, they wasn't having it in the TV series, but in the comics they really wasn't having it. They were just like, we don't mess with you, we can't stand you, this little book that you did. And so Vanya actually runs off back to this like little group. So before she actually meets up with her siblings in the comic, this group kind of approaches her. She hasn't played violin in years on years on years. Okay, so it's not how she was constantly playing and basically teaching people on top of, you know, trying to audition for First Chair. So she hadn't played, and so they basically came to her like, hey, we want you to play the violin so you can bring about the apocalypse, okay? And so she was just like, hell to the no. I'm going to my family. I can't even believe that I let y'all talk me to coming down here to talk about this dang old mess. So she leaves. After her siblings push her away and go off on her, she goes back. She says, okay, I want to do whatever you guys are trying to do. My family has never been there for me. And so she goes to this really painful and excruciating like procedure, and they call her like the white violin. So when you see Vanya towards the end of the season, season 1, you see her dressed in white. She was actually kind of just like this white robot looking thing playing this violin, okay? And so I have to say that I really enjoy Ellen Page's character. I really love them exploring how when you try to suppress someone's potential instead of trying to help them learn how to use it, it's almost like she was so powerful that it scared her father because he couldn't teach her to control it, nor did he want to continue to teach her to try to control. And it's kind of funny because he got on all of his other children about not knowing, like, you know, with number 4, and how he told him when he basically died for a moment and talked to his dad on how he basically has all this great power, but he doesn't even realize what he can do, as we see as he's trying to, sometimes he can have number 6 like actually pull people when he saves Diego from being killed, or kind of how he helps them at the end where they're having this big final blowout at the symphony hall. And so I think it's funny how he kind of got on them about not maximizing on their full potential, but he didn't allow his daughter to do so. And when he locked her up and was just like, we just gonna lock you up in the bottom of the house and then none of y'all realized that your sibling was missing, I felt Vanya's pain. And especially because you've kind of lived this life where you've basically been told to believe that you're nothing. You had to live in your sibling's shadow. That scene where he wouldn't even let her get in the picture, I was like, damn, daddy, like, you gonna do your kids like that? That was just ridiculous. Now, necessarily the whole relationship between her and I think his name was Leonard, in the movie, in the TV series, we don't necessarily see that in the comic. As I said, it's this crazy little Illuminati looking group of people with these masks on who's trying to bring about the apocalypse. And so that's something new that they added. I think it's fine. It makes sense because no one really saw her before. So for this man to come into her life and basically kind of, you know, not only accept her for who she is, but help her realize that she's better than what she could have ever imagined. Even though he was still creepy, like, you paid these people to beat you, all this crazy stuff. But I love Vanya so much just because it almost made me feel as though she's like the Phoenix that we never get to fully see in the X-Men films. I could be reaching, but her storyline kind of reminds me of a Jean Grey. And so I really thought that she was very enjoyable. And I love how Ellen Page played her. I just see people talking about Ellen Page playing Ellen Page, but I love how we see this switch from how she's kind of this closed off, quiet, behind the scenes type of person to when she kind of unleashes her powers. And I think that it was great to see. I'm sorry, y'all, I'm still sick. I'm still hacking. And so that's pretty much the main differences. With how like Apocalypse Suite ends, I thought she looked a little bit cooler in the comics and how they made her look in the television series. But I mean, as I said, her whole story arc was just fine with me. I was fine with Allison's story arc, the whole thing with her mother. And I was just like, girl, you know what? As much as I know people will want to condemn you for using that power on your kids, look, I done had to watch my nieces and nephews and my godson, and I was just like, let me have had that power. I'd be like, rumor has it, you finna go to bed, okay? And I would do the exact same thing that Allison did, but I like how they kind of show the parallels between how she was trying to compare everyone to her brother Luther, because that's who she was really in love with. So it's really like her relationship was doomed to fail regardless of what she would have done, you know, to her daughter Claire. Let's get on number 5. So number 5, as I said, was one of my favorites. In the comics, he's pretty much the same. I think the whole thing between what they do with him doing the assassination of JFK, that takes place like in the full, like it's a full volume called Dallas, because that's where JFK was assassinated. And so that's where we're actually introduced to Hazel and Cha-Cha. They do not appear in Apocalypse Week. So just to let you guys know that as well. But as I said, I love number 5. I thought he was super cool. I love Cha-Cha and Hazel, Mary J. Blige. I'm still rooting for you to just get your own little action film, because all the stuff she was doing, even when she was running real quick in the hill, I was just like, yes, girl, I'm here for all of it. I just love it. Now, as I said, for number 6, you really don't get to learn anything about him. He's already dead. They don't really speak about it. And so pretty much in volume 1, that's pretty much the same thing as well. I'm trying to think, have I forgotten anyone? I like Klaus's storyline just because him being tortured, like you can already see the death, so that has to just be enough in itself, but also too seeing how his dad locks him up and kind of how he struggles with drug use. And one of the things that I do like is when Allison tells Vanya that we're not kids anymore, you know, you can't keep blaming dad for all of your problems of how you feel now. But I think it's funny that she says that to her, but a lot of them do not take their own advice and try to basically get their life together. As I said, Diego's the only one who really tried to live his own life and kind of get out of this Umbrella Academy so he can try to be normal, but still really wasn't normal. But one thing that I do have to say, and I'm gonna try to wrap this up because I feel like I've been rambling, the diversity. And I hate that I did not mention this in my non-spoiler review. The kids do not have these diverse backgrounds in the comic book. And I think it was so cool how they had a Black woman, how they had someone who was gay, how they had an Asian person, how they had just like the outsiders. I really love the different ways that they cast people, even a Hispanic person, and it works. Like, it didn't feel weird. It didn't feel forced. It was just, they were just from different backgrounds, and it was totally okay. And I think it was very good that they did it with this content, just because, yeah, he randomly picked 7 kids from different places all over the world. So, I mean, you're not going to expect everyone to be the same ethnicity, come from the same backgrounds. So I really do want to take a chance to applaud them on the diversity of what they have done with the Umbrella Academy. But for me as a whole, the whole thing with the commission, you see Kate Walsh's character, you know, from Private Practice, Grey's Anatomy. I like the world building that they did with them, because we're not introduced to the commission in the beginning. We do see the people with the mask at the end of the Umbrella Academy, the season 1, the first series of the comics that we see at the end of the season 1 finale, but we don't get to know who they are. So I'm not sure if we find out who they are in the Dallas volume. And if you guys have read the Dallas volume, let me know. They're not giving it up for free on Kindle. They try to make me pay for every single episode. So I don't know when I'm going to have time to read that. But I think those are pretty much my spoiler thoughts. I mean, I'm trying to go through the whole plot. You know, the Hazel and Cha-Cha trying to kill number 5, which I thought was so cool, because not only are they trying to kill this person who is like the greatest person who's ever worked in the commission. Like, I mean, this man was able to overturn his own execution because he was so dope. But they're like chasing like this little boy, this old man trapped in this little boy's body. Oh, and Dolores was in the comics. They kind of play all of that out the same way. And so I think that's really it going into the plot. I mean, we talked about everything. We talked about Vanya basically becoming this, she powerful now. All her brothers and sisters scared the hell out of them. I will say that when she slit Allison's throat, I said, girl, you gonna kill your sister like that? However, the difference between that moment and the comic book, she actually doesn't slit Allison's throat until they all get to the symphony when she's kind of playing this song, and that's when she actually slits her throat. And Space Boy, aka Luther number 1, he actually stops in the middle of them trying to fight her, takes number 3, Allison, and takes her to the hospital and literally just leaves his siblings high and dry. And so Anya actually ends up escaping to go do her own little thing. And so yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm sorry that I rambled for so long, guys. If I forgot something, if I messed something up, I'm pretty sure that you guys are going to let me know in the comment section below. But always let me know, like, what were your favorite moments of season 1? Who was your favorite character? Who was your favorite, like, kid? Who was, like, your favorite villain in the TV series? And let me know your thoughts on the season 1 of the Umbrella Academy. So those are pretty much my thoughts. As always, my name is Sharronda from Pay Your Weight. And if you like what you saw today, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends, and make sure you hit that notification bell. And I will see you soon.